Guys cheered pretty good. I just don't think it was enough to bring our special guests out here. Can you help me out? Do you remember what to do? I can't hear you. Do you remember what to do? All right, on the count of three, we're gonna do it again. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's bring out Chris, Travis, and Ariane, and our programming director, Michael Albright.
Thank you. All right, welcome guys. Thanks so much for coming out for this.
Thanks for having us.
Before we get started, I just want to say how special this event is. This is one of the first AppleBox films I've had a chance to attend. And for those of you who don't know, the Arlington Theater is just it's obviously a special place, but this was built in 1931 as a picture palace, and it was really designed to sort of bring all different types of people together to see a movie. And it's really rare when we get 2,000 people here to pack the house. So thanks so much for coming out. It's really a magical day for all of us. Congratulations on being nominated for Best Animated Film. This is a huge, huge honor for them. Let's start with the animation itself. This is an amazing aesthetic. You guys have a fantastic production design here. Can you just explain a little bit about your thoughts on the animation and also the conversion to 3D and how that all came about?
Well, I think this is this on? Can everyone hear me? Oh, good. The animation, well, obviously it's stop motion animation, which we think is a really special kind of medium. This is our second movie. It's our second stop motion movie in 3D. And I think we learned a lot of lessons from Coraline. I think one thing about stop motion that makes it so special is that it's handmade. You feel like you can reach into the screen and touch these things. It almost feels, there's something about it that's like going back to when you're a kid and imagining that your toys are coming to life. And I think the 3D helps with that because we're opening up a window and we're saying, look at these toys that are cool, come on, reach in and touch them. So I think that you see the stitching, you see the hand-painted craft on the screen in front of you. And I think there's something really special about that.
You also...
Oh, sorry.
It's all good. This is an amazing blend of different genres that we're working with here, too. You have elements of horror and elements of comedy, and at the same time, this is a family film. How did you bring all these different types of genres together to create this amazing balance of the three?
Well, I grew up watching all kinds of different movies, including horror, and I don't think it did me any harm. But I think this is as much a story about the kinds of movies that influenced me when I was a kid. So, I mean, we always talk about it as John Carpenter meets John Hughes, but it was a mix of different things. It was the Goonies, it was Ghostbusters, it was Scooby-Doo. And it was kind of taking all those things and mixing them all together and putting a new spin on it.
Do you have any favorite zombie movies?
Oh, yes. Night of the Living Dead. I think I saw that when I was... Yes! The funny thing about that was, I think I was like about 9 years old, 8 or 9, and I saw it was on the TV and it was black and white, so I thought, yeah, I can handle that. And then there's a few scenes that I couldn't handle. But yeah, I love zombie movies. All of them. The best thing about zombie movies is that they always have something else to say. There's always some kind of social commentary in it. They're always using zombies to say something about what's going on in the world, and I think that's what we wanted to do as well.
Could you elaborate a little bit more about some of the, using the zombie as kind of a larger, trope to kind of get these larger social issues?
Sure. I think what seemed like it could be cool for me is playing up this idea of fitting in when you're a kid. And I thought it was quite cool to kind of play with the idea that when you're 11 years old, the real world, like going to school every day and being bullied, is far scarier than sitting and watching a zombie movie. So it was playing that reality of not fitting in when you're 11 with the, you know, the fictional horror of spooky movies.
You did a really great job. So congratulations, guys. This is. Thank you. You created some really fantastic characters in the film, they're archetypal characters in a way. You know, at the beginning they're sort of, you know, they come from what we maybe expect them to be, but by the end, you know, they really become very different kind of characters, and they kind of break those rules. Could you just elaborate, you know, from a screenwriter perspective, what characters were based on and how you designed those?
Yeah, I'm not the screenwriter. The guy next to me is. So why don't I answer the screenwriter question? No, actually, it's interesting because we were playing with these archetypes. You know, we have the jock, the bully, you know, the nerd, the cheerleader, and you know, and even with the zombies, and we wanted to tell the sort of story that turned all these conventions on their head, and so everyone you meet in the film, you think you understand because we've all seen these kinds of movies before. But we wanted to twist it and to give something you didn't expect. So as you kind of get deeper into the film, you understand that these things that these people that you thought you understood, these characters that you thought you knew, are not exactly what they appear to be. And actually, even our hero, Norman, is guilty of that too. It all goes to the bigger theme of judging things before you really understand what they are. Norman is guilty of it too. He thinks he understands what these zombies are because of these movies that he's watched, when in fact they're not anything like what he thought they were. And so as you kind of progress through the film, the audience is sort of complicit in that. We all kind of judge people that we don't quite get in a way that's probably not accurate. And so as you kind of progress through the film, you know, that is hitting on the larger themes of what the whole film's about.
Norman's room is pretty amazing. I loved all of the vintage horror posters and the wallpaper, and could you just elaborate on kind of the production design and some of the inspiration for creating that mise-en-scène?
Mine works. So I'm not the production designer, so I will answer that question. Norman's bedroom, I think for the production design of the movie, we in fact started around our characters. Chris was pretty confident with his character lineup. He knows exactly who the characters were, and we started in that area first. And because we had a solid idea of who each one was and what they looked like, including how they would archetypally dress, and we built, our great production designer, Nelson Lowry, built a world around them that was a believable world. It was a contemporary world that we live in, but was just off enough and to make it askew. So the kind of details that we wanted to get right were the details in the everyday, and find some beauty in some of the ugliness and the decay of the town. Have moments in the film that celebrated that in a way just as you would in a live-action movie. And I think what is notable about our production is that every detail was so thoughtfully done that it worked. You know, every line, we had a real aesthetic vocabulary and we adhered to it, and so the world is believable and it works. You know, Norman's world, there's nothing that kind of jumps out at you, a line that's suddenly straight that should be wonky.
And also, you know, Norman's bedroom is full of horror movie posters. You have to remember that our studio is built up of hundreds of geeks. And that was like a gift to them, because somebody got to design every horror movie poster that they could possibly think of. And he did hundreds of them. In fact, we had trouble stopping him. He just kept going. But that kind of location is just a gift from a design point of view, because you get to have some fun. You get to play.
Speaking on the design process a little bit more, the town Blythe Hollow is also just an amazing character in the film too, and I love this town. Is it based on anything? Did you grow up around a town on the East Coast or something like that reminds you of this place?
You know, Chris is the writer and director, and he's from England, and our production designer is from, but he wanted to set it in the United States, and it's a real kind of American town based on. Oh my gosh!
It's
Salem,
it's a cross
Massachusetts.
between Salem and Concord. It was supposed to be like a poor man's Salem. Sorry, I'm taking this question over. It was supposed to be like kind of every town in Massachusetts, just a bit kind of grubby, a bit rubbish, really. And so when I was writing it, I did make a couple of trips out there. I even stayed in the most haunted hotel room in all of Massachusetts in some effort to get haunted, and nothing happened. I was sat there all night screaming at the walls. Something happened. No, nothing. But it was just good to actually get out there, and we didn't, like Ariane said before, we didn't want to see just the perfect tourist side of it. We wanted to see the gritty, grungy back alleys. We wanted to see the rough plots of land that hadn't been developed. We want to see the trash in the gutters. So it was definitely worthwhile to. Nelson grew up there, so he could give us he was our production designer, and he took us on a very thorough tour.
The relationship between Norman and his grandma is a really special relationship, especially as she passes on, and it comes back into the film as a really important character. Can you explain, maybe the inspiration behind building the story in that way? Is it something personal? Is it something that comes really close to your heart?
Yes. It's my own grandma. When I was a kid, my nana, as she was called, used to say to me that when she died, she was going to come back and watch over me to make sure I was okay. And you can take that two ways. Either it's very creepy, or, as I prefer to believe, it's really sweet. She basically said, "I'm going to haunt you to make sure you're okay." But as a kid, I thought it was a really good way of introducing a child to the concept of death, because she didn't make it scary. She actually made it not final. She made it loving. And I had a very good relationship with my nana. So that's how it wound up in the movie. That's where the grandma character came from. My nana didn't actually do that, by the way. She didn't come back, as far as I know. But I like the idea.
Well, we have a bunch of excited kids ready to ask questions to this amazing team. So I'm going to go up there and take it away with some questions here from the kids.
My name is Diego Alvarez, and I just have one question. How long did it take to make the Norman character?
Good question.
Is this? No.
There, mine works.
How long did it take to create the Norman character? Do you mean writing him or the puppet? God. Building him. Is it 3 months? It's about 3 months from beginning to end, but where are you? There you are. These things, actually, did we see that right at the end, the puppet being built? Oh. It's a really long process. You have to remember that nothing that you see on the screen just happens naturally. It all has to be designed. So someone somewhere a long time ago did a drawing of Norman based on my script, and she actually did many drawings. And eventually we get to one that we like, and that could take 3, 4, 5 weeks, especially because he's a main character. And then someone makes a sculpt of him. So it's like a statue. And we go through various versions of that. And then when we like that, we then go into making the puppet. And that's a complicated process in itself, because the puppet, underneath the skin of the puppet, underneath the silicone, is like a metal skeleton, so we can move it. We call it an armature. But the animators, these guys, they have to move this thing one frame at a time, 24 frames a second, And obviously over the course of a movie of 90 however minutes, that's a lot. But the puppet itself, oh, and the puppet also has to be clothed. So we actually have a costume designer, just like you would on a normal movie, and she designs and makes a normal movie. She designs and makes these clothes, and they're all, obviously they're miniature, and there's a lot of versions of them. I think there were 28 different Norman puppets as well. So it's an awful lot of work. I think one puppet takes about 3 months from beginning to end, but actually it's probably a lot longer.
It's about
Well, and what's more, finding materials to use for these characters is interesting because they're projected up on the screen at this huge scale, but actually Norman, he's about 9.5 inches tall. He's only about that tall. And he's got his skin is made of silicone, he's got, real clothes on. His hair is made out of goat hair that we put glue and dyes in to get that shape. And so just finding the materials to make these characters is really interesting. But yeah, you got to remember, these things are only about 9-10 inches tall.
Good question.
Hi, I'm Erica, and my question is, why did you make Norman's friend Niall so happy through the whole entire movie? He wasn't Neil.
why is Neil so happy throughout the whole movie?
You tell me that.
That's his personality. I think Chris had Norman, who was comfortable being himself, the character of Norman, but he didn't reach out much to his friends or the community, and it took somebody, I think, a character like Neil, who just had a lot of confidence in himself, was really comfortable with himself, and therefore saw what was good and different about Norman and accepted him. So I think part of it, it was a foil for Norman to become a friend. And also, the kid who played him had a unique voice. He had a fun voice. I don't know if you could tell the way, the character said his lines. And I think a lot of that got imparted into the way the animators animated him as a happy-go-lucky, unique kid.
Yeah. Who here liked the character of Neil? Yeah. And I think that's what makes him really special, is that you can go through life being picked on and just kind of hide yourself away and worry about it and not do anything. But Neil wasn't that kid, and that's why I love him, is because despite what happens to him, he's still strong, he still goes out and has fun and smiles. I think he's a great role model, actually, and he teaches Norman he teaches him a few things.
Yeah, I mean, we have a number of characters in the film that are bullied, and each one of them kind of represents a different way to deal with that. I think you see in Norman's uncle, he was clearly he was bullied as a kid. He withdrew from society. He didn't associate with other people. He became kind of a shut-in that didn't connect with other people. And you can see Norman is kind of heading that direction himself. He doesn't really have any friends. He doesn't get along with his family. His response to being bullied is just to kind of like start to withdraw from society. Neil, same sort of thing. He's been bullied, but he does not react that way. He does not see kind of evil in the world. He chooses to see a positive way. And by kind of showing those different ways of reacting to adversity, reacting to be bullied, we show that there's just different ways to handle these things, and it actually opens up Norman to see that there is good in people.
Hi, I'm Viviana. So which character was the hardest to bring to life?
I think that's a good question for Travis.
Well, they're all hard, but getting Norman right is critical, because he's the central character. So you want to make sure that he carries the entire film. You want to make sure that people connect with him as a real 11-year-old kid. Probably the biggest challenge, though, the biggest technical challenge to bring to life was our Aggie character, the ghost witch at the end, where she's kind of floating around. And the way we did her was really interesting. She is actually part puppet, so she was a puppet that we shot out on stage. And then on top of that, we put CG effects for kind of her little floating dress. And then on top of that, we put 2D hand-drawn animation for like these little lightning bolts and stuff that come out of her hair. And so it was basically all different forms of animation: stop motion, CG animation, hand-drawn animation in one character, which is something that's never been done before.
Which one did you think looked the hardest to bring to life?
I think it would be like the grandma, because she's like see-through.
That's true, actually. The ghosts were tricky, because even though we shot them with the other characters, we had to put green screen behind them so that later on we could take them, basically take them out of the scene, make them see through, and put them back in again. So you're kind of right there. They were difficult.
Hi, my name is Sierra, and which character was your favorite?
Which character we may have all three different favorites. I like Norman and I like Mitch.
Yeah, I got to say, I spent more time with Norman probably than I spent with my own kids over the course of 2 years. It's pretty ridiculous, but I love that little guy. I think he's just a doll.
Courtney, because she's obnoxious but funny, and I kind of liked writing her dialogue, and I like working with Anna Ken. I like working with everyone, but I don't know. There was something about Courtney that just sparked something. Did you like Courtney?
Yeah.
Which was your favorite?
I liked Aggie.
Oh, yeah. A lot of girls say that. A lot of smart girls say that.
My name is Jade, and I was wondering how long it took you guys to make the movie.
I think, well, I started writing it, believe it or not, I started writing it about 16 years ago, but I didn't do it all the time, so really the movie started about 4 years ago, and we had a year of development, which is where you're kind of figuring out how you want it to look and how you're going to make it, and that was a small group of us. And then you go into pre-production, which is when you start building things and designing things. And then you start shooting it, which is when you're actually doing the animation. And that was about 2.5 years. So all in all, the main part of it was about 4 years, but I feel like this has been most of my life, in a good way.
Yeah, animation takes a long time to do. I mean, at the peak of our production, we were doing anywhere from a minute to a minute and a half of footage a week. So you can see it takes a long time to make these things.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ohani.
Okay.
How did you make up the story?
How did I make up the story? Oh, it's a really good question. A long, long time ago, when I was a kid, I used to watch all kinds of movies that really, you know, they excited me. They made me want to do animation. And there were a bunch of old films where there were monsters that were animated by a guy called Ray Harryhausen. And there was one movie in particular, which was called Jason and the Argonauts, that had these skeletons that came alive, and they had this big sword fight. And I remember seeing that as a kid and just being amazed by it. And probably about 16 years ago, I thought, wouldn't it be great to do a zombie movie in stop motion for kids? And it was probably because I saw that movie when I was a kid. And then over the years, I just kept going back to that idea because I thought it was good. I could have just forgotten about it over all that time. But there was something about it that I liked, something about it that I kept going back to. And I think it worked. I'm glad I did go back to it, because I think just in itself, a zombie movie for kids needed to be made.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and my question is, what inspired you to make this movie?
Well, I think it was, like I said, it was a lot of the movies that I watched as a kid. So, have you seen The Goonies? No. Well, you know, DVD. There was a bunch of movies that I watched. So, E.T., The Goonies, Ghostbusters, The Breakfast Club. There was a whole bunch of movies that just had a big effect on me when I was a kid. So I knew that I wanted to play in that world. So when I got the chance to write this, I was kind of thinking of all those movies that I'd watched as a kid.
Yeah, and the idea to make a film for families that was kind of part scary movie, part comedy, part kind of coming of age drama was just something that was really appealing to all of us. It was the kind of movies that we loved watching growing up and that we wanted our kids to watch.
Elizabeth, I was thinking the kind of movie, what inspired him, I think as filmmakers, exactly like Travis said, something that we'd like to see, or when we were kids, thought we wanted to see. And that, I think that's kind of it. I don't know if that's helpful. I always want them to think.
My name is Linnea, and how old were you when you made your first movie?
38. No, I used to mess around with 2D animation actually when I was younger. It used to be, it's very easy now. Your generation, you're lucky. It's very easy to make films, to make animation, because you can use phone apps. You can use your computer. When I was a kid, many hundreds of years ago, it was difficult to do that. So you had to be really driven and passionate. But I used to do drawn animation, like, cartoon animation. I always wanted to work for Disney when I was a kid. But I guess the first film I made properly was my student film when I went to school. And yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty young when I was doing kind of movies in my parents' basement. I was 10 years old when I started doing my own animated films, and so, I'm almost 40 now, so it's been a long time.
My name is YTS, and how long did it take to make? How long did you what's it called?
To make the movie, or
How long did you? No. How long did you work on the movie?
well, go ahead.
We all worked, different amounts of time, but as Chris was saying, he thought of the movie and was inspired to make it for about 16 years ago. So he has been working on that for probably double your life. Travis and I would say this is about the 4th year of working on it. I'm scared to say 5. That might be your age. How old are you? 9. Okay. Wow.
What an insult.
I am so sorry. Exactly. It takes a really long time to make animated movies, and I think all movies, and we really carefully went about it and tried to really put the time and effort it needed every step of the way to make what you saw.
Hi, my name is Danny, and do you know what your next movie is you're gonna make?
Yes, Danny. We have not told the world what it is yet. Well, I would love to tell you, Danny, but we're keeping it a secret for probably another 2 weeks or so. But yeah, we're working on our next movie right now. It'll be out next year. And Chris and I are working on something else, and Ariana and I are working on something else beyond that. So we'll probably, over the next 5-10 years, we want to have about 6, 7, 8 movies out. So
By the time I make my next one, you'll probably be married with kids.
yeah. So look for it.
Come and see him. Oh no.
My name is Andrea. My name is Andres, and how long did you take to make the zombies on it?
The zombies were a challenge because we looked at the old zombie movies that we loved growing up, and we wanted to honor that. The zombies were made out of silicon. Norman has these kind of plasticky faces that we used to get his expressions. The zombies are actually made out of kind of like a rubber material, and so we can swing their jaws around. We can have drool fly out of their mouths when they're slobbering and stuff. The scene that I animated where the zombies come out of the ground, on screen it's probably about 3 minutes long. That took me an entire year to shoot that scene. Yikes. So you can see why these things take so long. But yeah, it took us a long time to make those things. But hopefully, you know, these films last a while, so you can enjoy it again and again, and remember that this poor guy worked on it for a year.
All right, thank you guys so much for coming up for the screening. Good luck for the Oscars, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.